It not only became our home, it was our home. As you experience life, as you're involved with people that you care about, and you go through experiences together, good and bad, it just welds you to that environment. We came to love that place deeply.
Inside Baylor Sports. Farewell to Floyd Casey Stadium is brought to you by Dr. Pepper, always one of a kind. By Baylor Scott & White Health, the official healthcare provider of Baylor Athletics. Time Warner Cable, enjoy better. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. Register to win the right to be an official photographer at Baylor home athletic events. Visit BaylorContest.com for more information.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of Inside Baylor Sports. Farewell to Floyd Casey Stadium. I'm John Morris. Just outside the press box and suites on the west side is the Grant Taft Plaza. Coach Taft came to Baylor when the Case was 21 years old. He coached here 21 seasons, and it's been 21 years since Coach Taft hung up his whistle.
We were playing the University of Wyoming first opening game, and we'd had a string of 100-plus days, 110, 111, just bad a year. And we're working out in that stadium, and our guys are suffering so much. I'm psychologically trying to give them a little boost, you know, and so I was kidding about it one day. I told them, I said, I can fry an egg on this field. It's so hot. And so I get my chef hat on, and I got the skillet, and I got the egg, and so I walk out on the field, and I go over and I set it down on the what we call the warning track, which is the kind of rubberized surface. Set it down on that and let it set for a minute to get hot, you know. Then I walk over and I'm down on one knee and I crack the egg and I open it and it's sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. They're all clicking. Well, the picture of me frying an egg went everywhere. This particular year that related to the worm story was 1978. We're playing Texas the last game. They're 9th ranked in the nation. They're in the top 10. I said to the guys, you got to do whatever it takes, whether it's painful or distasteful. You got to do it. When I thought of distasteful, I thought of a story I'd heard about two fishermen fishing on ice. One catching fish, the other one not. Not catching fish said to the fisherman that was catching, what's the secret of your success? He said, you ought to keep the worms going. So the next Saturday morning, I go down Valley Mills and find a place that sells worms. So just before the game, we're ready to go out on the field, and I told the guys, I said, this is the best week of work we've had. I'm so proud of you. Your attitude is absolutely perfect and positive, and you're gonna win the game. And right now, there's nothing that coaches can do. It's your game. You out on the field. But while you're gone, there is something I can do and I want to do. I'm going to keep the worms warm for you. They all looked at me, and I had him in my hand, and I reached down, picked him up, opened my mouth, dropped him in the left corner. And they went nuts, you know, just nuts. And so they go out the door, and I took the little fella and threw him in the trash. The good news was that we were playing Texas for the last game, which is a little bit ironic. And we beat Texas for my last game. And we walked off the field winners. My memories are all very pleasant about my exiting of Floyd Casey, and I'm going to try to make it the same way when the last game is played and the last whistle is blown and the lights are turned out.
Watching the growth and support from Art Briles' first game at Floyd Casey Stadium in 2008 to now is something else.
As a football program and as a university, I think we're all, taking steps together. I mean, we're all crossing bridges together and seeing how to do it and what works best for us. And it's been very, inspirational.
On the field and under Coach Briles, the Bears are 28-10 at the Case.
Floyd Casey has been 6 years I've been here, it's been a great home field advantage. Now our guys have really played well at home. We've had some outstanding crowds, a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm from our student body in the Baylor Nation. So from that standpoint, it's going to be it's kind of bittersweet.
Bittersweet because Coach Briles knows what the stadium means to a whole lot of people.
I can respect, all the great memories that are there through all the years, and all the great players, and all the great fans and cheerleaders and band members and everybody that's been involved at that stadium. So it's just, it's in people's hearts that love Baylor. It's always going to have a special place, mine included.
While Coach Briles is excited for the future at Baylor Stadium, he says the game against Texas will be tough.
It'll be a senior day, and it'll be a special time for those kids and their memories. But when you add that that's the last game ever there, it'll certainly be a night and a day to remember forever.
And still to come on Inside Baylor Sports, farewell to Floyd Casey Stadium. Former Baylor football student athletes share their stadium stories. Plus, we'll reveal part 1 of our top 10 greatest games at the Case. Stay with us. And welcome back on Inside Baylor Sports. Farewell to Floyd Casey Stadium. Of course, when it was born and opened in 1950, this was Baylor Stadium. Changed names in 1989 thanks to a generous gift by Carl and Thelma Casey in honor of his father, Floyd Casey. And there have been many great games through the years here at the Case. Here now is a look at the first 5 of our top 10 greatest games in stadium history. We began in 1956 when Baylor hosted Texas A&M in a game that legendary Aggies coach Bear Bryant described as one of the toughest and bloodiest games ever. The contest featured a future Heisman Trophy winner in John David Crow and a controversial call overturning a fumble. On September 10th, 1966, Baylor's debut of running back John Hill Westbrook broke the color barrier, and the Bears stunned 7th-ranked Syracuse 35-12. Down 24-7 at halftime against Texas, the Bears scored 27 unanswered points in what is now known as the Miracle on the Brazos. Baylor defeated the 12th-ranked Longhorns in 1974 to claim the school's first conference championship in 50 years. Fast forward to October 11th, 1980. When Baylor had to dig out of a huge first-half hole to win a shootout with SMU and its Pony Express. The Bears' season ended with a Southwest Conference championship and an unblemished conference record. In September of 1983, Baylor welcomed BYU to Waco with a memorable shootout. The Bears alternated quarterbacks Cody Carlson and Tom Mickey on every play and outgunned BYU's Steve Young. Baylor's Alfred Anderson scored the winning touchdown with just 49 seconds remaining. Of course, going hand in hand with great games come great players with great stories. We caught up with some former Baylor players and got their favorite stadium stories.
That stadium out there was another home for me and my teammates. Big deal, it really was.
I guess the biggest memories, of course, and they still have to go out there, was us traveling down Dutton Street to practice and to the games, and then after practice hurrying back to get to the chow hall and be the first in line to get fed. It's times past, but it's nice to reflect back on it.
I remember being 137 on the field, and we had 3-a-days. And we were playing Oklahoma. It was our first week of practice. Guys were throwing up everywhere, heat exhaustion, all that kind of stuff. So Grant Tabb comes out and he pulls out a skillet and an egg, and he cracks the egg on top of the skillet, and he gives a little semi, you can see the thing cooking. Yeah. So I'm thinking he's going to call practice. He said, hey, line up for stretch.
The game against North Carolina State and Baylor, North Carolina State just beat Florida State, and they came in, and Torrey Hope was a top 5 receiver and came in, we shut him down, and I blocked the field goal for us to win the game.
Beating Arkansas my junior year, because my freshman year, they sort of punished us here when I was a freshman and get my first start, but then be able to mature and come back and dominate Arkansas the way we did. To me, that was a great moment for me.
I would say my top 2 moments would be when we beat A&M. It was a big moment. And then another moment, what I would say, when we came back from 17 down against Kansas to beat them homecoming.
The final game that we played when I was a player here was against the University of Texas. So it's a nice and fitting end that we're going to get to experience after so many years of competing in such a historic stadium.
Well, stay with us. Still to come on Inside Baylor Sports. Farewell to Floyd Casey Stadium. We'll sit down with legendary sports writer Dave Campbell and get his stadium memories. But first, here's the all-time stadium offensive team.
The kicker, playing from 2009 through 2013, Aaron Jones. Returning kicks from 1980 through 1983, Gerald McNeil. On the offensive line, playing from 1954 through 1956, Bill Glass. On the offensive line, playing from 1979 through 1983, Mark Addix. On the offensive line, playing from 1952 through 1954, James Ray Smith. On the offensive line, playing from 2005 through 2008, Jason Smith. On the offensive line, playing from 2007 through 2009, J.D. Walton. At receiver, playing from 1963 through 1965, Lawrence Elkins. At receiver, playing from 2008 through 2011, Kendall Wright. At receiver, playing from 2009 through 2012, Terrence Williams. At running back, playing from 1978 through 1981, Walter Abercrombie. At running back, playing from 2009 through 2011, Terrence Ganaway. At quarterback, playing from 2008 through 2011, Robert Griffin III.
And welcome back. Baylor football goes back to 1899, and the first home of Baylor football was Carroll Field on campus. From there, they moved to the Cotton Palace, then to Muni Stadium, and then in 1950 here to what was then called Baylor Stadium. One man who knows that history all too well is legendary sports writer and Baylor alum Dave Campbell, who we sat down with to get his thoughts on the history of Baylor football.
Dave Campbell remembers the first game ever played at Floyd Casey Stadium like it was yesterday.
I sure do. Baylor had played a non-conference season opener on the road. Played Wyoming and got beat. And came back home and really beat up on the University of Houston. 25,000 people were there. Which, that was bigger than we'd ever had before at a Baylor stadium.
And in the 340 games since, a few stand out above the rest, including the miracle on the Brazos.
I can never forget that 74 season with Baylor coming from way behind to beat Texas for the first time in 17 years. Kansas State last year was a terrific game. They were number one in the country, and we beat them very soundly. When we beat A&M, broke a long drought, beat them, was that under Guy Morris? We went for 2 and made it. There's some other games that, pretty unforgettable.
Over the years, Campbell has seen his share of superstar players come through Floyd Casey Stadium.
Robert Griffin was one of a kind. Griffin was the first Texas boy, born in Texas, played in high school football in Texas, to win the Heisman since Andre Ware. Those guys on the 74 team like Steve Beard, I'm forgetting them, a dozen going back to when Floyd Casey first opened.
And Campbell says playing Texas for the Floyd Casey finale is only fitting.
Earlier in our show, we showed you 5 of the 10 biggest games in stadium history. Can you guess the next 5?
If you guessed Baylor's homecoming win over 10th-ranked Arkansas on November 8th, 1986, you guessed correctly. The game helped legendary coach Grant Taff and the Bears overcome 2 heartbreaking mid-season losses on the way to a second straight 9-win season. In 2004, the Bears upset Texas A&M 35-34 in overtime when quarterback Sean Bell hooked up with Dominique Ziegler on a 12-yard touchdown pass, and then again on a gutsy 2-point conversion. It marked the first win over the Aggies in 19 years. Robert Griffin III's Heisman moment came when Baylor hosted 5th-ranked Oklahoma in November 2011. The junior quarterback found Terrence Williams in the end zone for a 34-yard touchdown strike with just 8 seconds remaining. It marked the first time the Bears beat the Sooners. Kansas State was expecting to roll through Waco on its way to the BCS championship game in 2012. But Art Briles and the Bears had another idea in mind. Lake Seastrunk rushed for 185 yards, including an 80-yard touchdown run in the third quarter. The Bears upset the Wildcats 52-24. In front of a blacked-out crowd, Bryce Petty and the 5th-ranked Bears knocked off Oklahoma on November 7, 2013. Despite losing Baylor's top 2 running backs to injuries, the Bears excelled behind redshirt freshman Shock Linwood. He ran for 182 yards, and Baylor defeated a top 10 BCS team for the 3rd year in a row.
Well, stay with us. When we come back, we'll look at the stadium history through fans' perspectives. But first, here's the all-time stadium defensive team.
The punter, playing from 2003 through 2006, Daniel Sepulveda. On the defensive line, playing from 1988 through 1991, Santana Dudson. On the defensive line, playing from 1970 through 1972, Roger Gorey. On the defensive line, playing from 1979 through 1982, Charles Benson. On the defensive line, playing from 1981 through 1984, Irvin Randall. At linebacker, playing from 1986 through 1989, James Francis. At linebacker, playing from 1977 through 1980, Mike Singletary. At linebacker, playing from 2006 through 2009, Joe Pavelli. At defensive back, playing from 1983 through 1986, Thomas Everett. At defensive back, playing from 1973 through 1976, Gary Green. At defensive back, playing from 1978 through 1981, Van McElroy. At defensive back, playing from 1986 through 1988, Robert Blackman.
And welcome back. Two Baylor fans, Carol Webb and Hal Finney, have been attending Baylor games here for practically their entire lives, which means they both hold special places in their heart for this stadium.
We've had season tickets for years to the football games, so I followed them closely.
Had a lot of fun. And the one thing I remember mainly as a little kid was at the end of the games running out on the field to get chin straps, from the players. And I believe his name was Larry Hickman. I think that's probably the best I ever did.
Just got out of Baylor and went to work for my firm in '48, so I got a young family, and I wasn't making all that kind of money, but I saw that Texas game. I mean, I always made a point. I don't remember if I saw the Houston game or not. That was our first game in this stadium, and we won it.
So back then, to me, this was like big, new, and I wouldn't necessarily say it was sparse, but it was of the time, 1950. And frankly, to me, this was always the new stadium, because I'm just old enough that I can barely have a memory of being with my parents at what I like to call the Erector Set Stadium, Muni, in 1949. I just vaguely barely remember being there. So then this one came up, and we lived just down the road here.
Third year was a Miracle on the Brazos, 1974.
I was one of the ones, for a fact, that was at the Miracle on the Brazos.
They came up here, and they were ahead 24-7 at the halftime.
And it looked like just same old, same old.
So we could go then, and we beat them 34-24. I mean, Neil Jeffrey was our quarterback then, and he got hot, and we just clobbered him. So that's the most memorable game out here.
Then the president and others sleeping under the scoreboard that night. I mean, it was just plain monumental.
Well, you know, like I say, I'm going to be 91 years old now. I want to be around a few more years so I can enjoy them over there in that new stadium.
The Floyd Casey finale is expected to draw one of the biggest crowds in stadium history.
We're cutting the wall down in the south end zone at the top of the seating. So that'll allow us to add almost 1,000 more seats up there so that all the fans and students and alumni and everybody that wants to be at the game gets an opportunity to be here.
In addition to more fans, Drew Pittman anticipates more media and a larger event staff.
We'll have more of everybody here just to make sure that the game day experience is seamless. So more bag checkers and more ticket takers and more ushers and more concession workers and more guest services and just everybody to ensure that everybody has a great experience here.
The football team plans on wearing throwback jerseys and helmets, and the postgame ceremony will close out the case in style.
Most people think this is the last time they'll be able to come down on the field and walk on this turf here at Floyd Casey, but one of the things that we are taking from Floyd Casey over to Baylor Stadium is about 60 yards of this turf will make an appearance in the new touchdown alley.
Saturday's game against Texas is sure to be a great one, and what a way to close out the case. Well, that's our time. Thanks very much for being with us. Always fun to relive memories as we say farewell to Floyd Casey Stadium.
Inside Baylor Sports. Farewell to Floyd Casey Stadium has been brought to you by Dr. Pepper, always one of a kind. By Baylor Scott & White Health, the official healthcare provider of Baylor Athletics. Time Warner Cable, enjoy better. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. Register to win the right to be an official photographer at Baylor home athletic events. Visit BaylorContest.com for more information.